We're going to talk about the science of flavor extraction. Yesterday, you guys got things prepared as far as your cold brew, the cold brew extraction. And then we're going to make our French press today. So hopefully you've got everything ready, all your equipment, and your water has been pre-boiled. So if you haven't boiled the water, you get that water going right now. Sorry, I'm sure for that. We're bringing it back to boil. Right. So if everyone would turn the water on, make sure they bring it back to boil. We'll talk for a moment and we'll get started. So what is flavor extraction? Barista Hustle has a very simple way of saying this, which is extraction is everything with water takes from the coffee bean. So in light of that, a coffee bean is 28% soluble, which is what's bringing that flavor in. What we need to understand about that is not all 28% of that is a desired flavor profile. It doesn't all taste good. So what we want to do is target the right percent of extraction, which is 18 to 22%. 18 to 22% should give you the best balanced flavor. Anything under that, we don't want to do, and anything over that, we want to do. So try to get right with middle. What affects this? How do we control that? The size that we grind our coffee plays a role. How much surface area that we can make contact with that bean. If we put a whole bean in a pot of hot water, we're going to get very little extraction. So we need to chop up that roasted coffee bean and grind it with as nice, even grind size as we can. And we can adjust that for flavor. Both of our brews that we've done are a large grind size, nice and coarse. Brew time is another way we can control this, the length of time that we have the coffee and water together. Brew temperature, and we have two extremely different temperatures here. We did the cold brew at room temp, cold water, which means we brew for a very long time. 4-minute brew time today because we're using hot water. So what flavors are we going to see if we get an under-extracted coffee, which is generally considered about 1%, which is rarely up to about 18% extraction. We're going to notice a very high acidity. It can almost be electric on your tongue when you get the sour notes from that. It's going to be lacking in sweet, thin. Some even detect a saltiness, and it has a really quick finish. Ideal extraction falls between 18 to 22%. That's where we should see the flavor balance out. We should start to get some of that sweetness that we're looking for out of that bean. A ripe fruit flavor, complex acidity, which is more desirable on the tongue. And finish for days is a way to describe it, where that wonderful flavor of coffee lingers on your tongue. And in the over extraction, which we're going to force today and make happen, you can taste what that is. Bitter notes come through. Dry astringent, even though there is drink in your mouth, it comes across dry as you finish that out. It's sharp. Okay? That's at 22 to 28% extraction. So we talked already a little bit about how we're going to notice that. This slide here is a handout. You should have it printed out and in your station. This is to remind you of what we've already just talked about. So as we're tasting, you should be able to tell if you're under extracted, over extracted, or ideally extracted. And this chart will help you find what should I do to change that, whether I'm going to change the grind size, whether I'm going to adjust my brew temp a little bit, or adjust my brew time a little. So have that out and really good look at. Next slide. This shows you a quick side-by-side comparison, and it's also part of your handout that you should have in front of you. On this, we both have coarse grind in both of these brews, comparing that full concentrate.
I better not.
Our brew ratio, this is how much coffee bean to water. 1 to 4 is what we're doing today on our cold brew. What we did yesterday, it was a 1 to 4 ratio. That's a concentrate. It's meant to be diluted a bit. You can go up to a 1 to 8 ratio, which is a little more ready to drink as is. In our French press, today we're doing a 1 to 15, 1 part coffee to 15 parts water. You can do anywhere from a 1 to 12 to 115. So when you want to adjust that flavor, you still need to stay in those parameters to be a French press. If you don't like the flavor profile of that, try a different bean, try a different brewing method. Brew time, 12 to 24 hours on the cold brew, 3 to 5 minutes on the French press. And then our brew temp, of course, as we mentioned, colder room temp. And on your French press, you're 90 to 96 degrees Celsius and 195 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Minjung, I should have prepped you sooner, so I need hot water, stat. So I should have her do that probably at slide. What I would do, Minjung, is why don't we do that right at, I want to see my slides. Could you bring me back for a sec? Okay. One more. So why don't, as soon as I start talking about the flavor profiles of three under, not what I'm just talking about, but once I get into under extracted, you're going to taste this, okay? That's where I want you to get water to.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So let's get it here now. Sorry.
Can I take a short little break? We'll mic you
Yeah,
up. Okay,
that's
so
mine.
let's do that.
I got to remember to look in the camera. Now I want to look at all you guys.
Just
and throw
pretend the
myself
camera's
off.
not there. So if you,
Well, it's good to look into it for this, is what I'm trying to do.
so
So the best thing for those is to go
under and then come out underneath there, and you come out between your buttons the best you can.
Alright.
Been there, done that.
Spread out.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep. How about right here with the fire? See that?
Perfect. I put that on my tongue before. I can handle it.
There you go.
Is it alive? Is it dead? Okay. All right, so let's get them to everybody else as well. Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, should I? Where? Here. Oh, there we go. I didn't notice that before. So if you want to bring me back forward to the one more, that one. Perfect. Thank you. Wow. So can I go ahead? Are we good? Do you need a minute? Go ahead. Okay. All right. So first step, we've got our water boil. We're going to go ahead and if you haven't ground your coffee already, get that ground. Okay. We've got ours all ready to go. So we'll give them a minute to get that ground waiting. It is always best to grind as close to brew time as possible. If you didn't have the right grinder for that, then it was better for you to get it ground at the coffee shop as I had in your instructions. You don't want to use an expensive grinder. You don't want to use a blade grinder. It throws the coffee every which way and chops at it every different way, and you get a lot of inconsistency in size of grind. So we use our burr grinders or conical grinders that was suggested in the written info to make sure you get a nice, even, coarse grind. We want to preheat our French press. You don't have to fill it to the top. We're only going to brew half of this. And I can even put this on just for a moment to help trap that heat in. Because brew temperature is so important, we need to maintain brew temperature to get an even extraction. So preheating this craft is important for this reason. And I usually just feel, if it feels good and hot, then I'm ready to go. So it doesn't take long, okay? And we can go ahead and dump that out. Thank you. And we're going to place this on our scale and zero your scale or tare, depending on how your scale works. But it should read 0. Oh, you were powered off. We're going to go ahead and put all of our grinds into the French press. And I'll even kind of level it out if need be. And we're going to do a process called blooming our grinds. So we want to take just a little bit of our water. Go ahead and zero before you start. And we're going to pour slowly just to get wet. I don't want a lot of volume here, just enough to get everything wet. And we can use our spoon to stir and finish that.
So, Katie, approximately how much water did you just add?
Fine question.
What's the scale say?
I'm at about 50 grams is plenty. Plus or minus 10 there is just fine. If you're at 40 or 60, we're just trying to get it wet. And then use your spoon to gently stir. What happens when we add the water to our grounds is we get a reaction where the gases start to escape from that bean. And so it traps air around the bean and the water. So you're stirring to break that so that the water actually hits the surface of your bean and starts the extraction process. So that's what blooming is for. And once you've stirred that, we want to start our 4-minute timer. The blooming process, all of about 30 seconds is plenty, and we'll just use my timer for all of us. You don't have one in your stations. From there, and keep your grams on your scale, you're going to add 2 here. That should be about 30 seconds. So we're going to continue with a nice, slow, steady stream. And we're going to take this to 450 grams, which is also 15 ounces. The circular motion is so we can stir in the process. That way I don't have to take a spoon back to it at the end. Watch as you get close to the 450 or 15 ounces so you can stop in time. And if you're off a couple, that's okay. Now I want to maintain our heat, so we're going to get our lid on. Mine's got a screen filter in front, so I want to make sure that screen filter is at the pour spout. And do not plunge yet. We're going to wait for the remainder of our time here. We still have about 2.5 minutes. And we'll let that flavor extract.
So while we're waiting for this, should we go get our cold brew?
That's a perfect idea, yes. So if you want to get the rest of your items out while we're brewing, we can get our cold brew out, we can get our cream, we can get our water, and have that ready to set up into your cups. Thank you.
That's my job.
Push me, push me. I gotta polish this up this weekend.
You're gonna be fine. You are so much better than the first time already. Don't worry.
Okay, well that's good.
You are doing great.
I'm forgetting to do this because I'm,
Yeah, look at them.
but it helps to see
Yeah. So just
pace a little bit.
pretend that you're talking to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You think so?
yeah, because he'll deal with the camera. You don't have to.
Okay, instead of like that thing I was watching last night where she's like, look
Yeah.
straight in. Okay.
During this time, would this be a time where Mohammed might chime in and say a few words in Arabic, or is that going to be till the end? Or do you envision that?
I envision him doing that as part of the introduction,
Okay,
and then me and Sarah are gonna help us translate when we do the tasting part.
gotcha, okay.
Right.
And this, again, we know that this light time is good for the listeners to just kind of digest and
Mhm.
process everything.
And
This
get
is the hands-on part.
Yes, exactly. They're doing it. We're just,
Yeah, we're just happy to be here.
I'm gonna run away from the camera for a second. Will you get me, should be in that pile there. I just want that handout, this thing. And I'll just grab it. It might be easier for me to just do it. Sorry. There we go. Would be good for this to be in my station too. Add that to my notes. Details. All right, there's my timer. So most of you should be close to where I'm at and getting ready for that 4 minutes to hit. Because time's important, once you do get your 4 minutes, you want to go ahead and plunge immediately. Slowly bring your grounds down. And then we want to get the water separated from the grounds because it's continuing to brew right now. So we're going to decant into your pitchers. Hold this. These do like to slip off, so you want to hold while you pour. And decant about half your coffee.
How much do you leave in there?
Trying to divide it in half. So you do want to keep in mind you've got grounds in here, so it should look a little higher if you're in matching. The idea here is we're going to let this one continue to brew. I want to intentionally over extract this. So I want a minimum of 2 minutes here that I'm going to start just to make sure we reach that. If you get beyond that, better yet, it's going to become more obvious what the over extraction tastes like. So the longer, the better here. I can go ahead and start setting up all of these. So we'll take one at a time. It starts with your cold brew and move through. And I will hand this off to you and have you finish that side, okay? So I'm gonna put cold brew in my first one, and just a little, you just need a little sip. Leave room for water in your second one. And leave a little room for your splash of cream in your third. And even more room in your fourth. I'm going to go ahead and move to my French press. And I will put my hot into my French press, first one. And my over extracted French press, we're going to wait for. So we're still continuing to brew that. I'm going to add water to my second one.
Your second one was the cold brew?
Correct. So that's your equal parts cold brew, concentrate, and water. So we're intentionally diluting to taste it where it would normally be at for drinking. And then we're going to add equal parts water to this cold brew on the top of your second sheet. And just eye the best you can there. You can play with that adjustment. You might like equal parts water. You might like 25% water added to it. That's personal. And then lastly, we have a little splash of cream to add to a couple of these. So you have on the very bottom of your first page, you have the cold brew concentrate, little splash of cream. And then we have on the top of your second sheet, equal parts cold brew concentrate and cold water with a splash of cream. My additional 2-minute timer went off, so I'm over extracted. So you may be ready for this. You may need another minute on your end if you're not there yet. And I'm going to pour my over extracted into my final cup. Over extracted.
So Katie,
Yes.
when I'm done, on the first sheet, I should have what?
So on the top, you have your cold brew concentrate. You've got your equal parts cold brew concentrate and cold water. You have cold brew concentrate and a splash of cream. Equal parts cold brew concentrate and water with a splash of cream. French press with our 4-minute brew time. And our over extracted French press, this has probably got 6 or 7 minutes of brew time on it now. I've got room for notes for you to take here. So as you're tasting, you can jot down what you're sensing. If you're sensing bitter, if you're sensing sour, salty, sweet, yum. That's a flavor profile. Yummy, delicious, okay? Make notes. It's not strong enough. I want it to be stronger. It's too strong, okay? And then that will help you make adjustments the next time you make a French press or cold brew, so that you can dial in exactly how you like yours. Okay.
So also at this time, we would have Mo and Sarah possibly explain in Arabic the different flavors while they're tasting.
So we have on your screen flavor and aromas. It's a flavor wheel. The way that you look at a flavor wheel is by looking in the center. You have taste and aromas. Those are the two halves of the wheel. Aromas mean let's smell first, okay? What do we sense from that? What do we get from that? Then move to taste. What happens as you come out, as you look at aromas, is it enzymatic? What does that mean? Look at the additional describers of enzymatic. Flowery, fruity, herby. You have your sugar browning. This is where you might detect a little nutty or caramely or chocolatey. You can smell those. Those are aromas. And then you have dry distillation, which is resinous or spicy, carbony, so a little more charred, if you will. And then on the taste side, so as we smell, take notes, we can taste. Do we taste something sour? That could be soury or winey. Do I taste something sweet, which is an acid or mellow sweet? Salt, bland or sharp, and bitter, harsh or pungent. So tasting your cold brew concentrate, one of the unique parts of this one to notice and detect is that with cold brew, it's brewed cold and it filters through fiber. It's going to, any fat that's in that bean, if we were lucky enough to extract a little with a cold brew, it's going to come out, it's going to be pulled into the filter. This usually, and you look at it, you don't see oil on top. You can see oil on top of your French press if you look close. So it comes across your tongue very differently. It's very unique in that way. And you should be able to notice that. And notice this one is that concentrate. Look at how dark in color it is. And now I'm trying to taste yours. Look at me. Look at me. Watch.
You're the star.
I'm going to move over here.
I'm just a supporting actor.
Okay. Ooh, hello, cold brew. What's interesting about cold brew to know, it's a great way to do iced coffee drinks and have it on hand and not have to run your espresso machine in the moment of that drink time. So I can do a faster drink time on a cold brew method, and with a concentrate, I can still do an iced latte and have enough strength in that when I add all my milk to it to still taste like good coffee. So that's why this is so strong, because it's strong. It can be simply an Americano, add water to it and ice and drink it cold. Some people really like it because it's easier on their digestive system. Some people notice acidity is better for them, and that's very personal. So for some people, this doesn't do the acid trick. It doesn't make it easier on your digestive system. And for others, it's like the only way to go. So it's good to understand that it can actually help you. If you have trouble with your normal brewing hot methods, try cold brew and see if that is easier digestion for you. So you have your equal parts cold brew and cold water. This is supposed to be a little more reflective of what it would be if I were to do an iced Americano. To me, it has a really smooth, both of them are smooth. I like the addition of water. But one thing we're not used to, if you haven't had cold brew before, we're not used to our coffee being pretty much fat-free. So it's very different on your tongue. So as we move through on that, and we have the cold brew concentrate with the cream, and we have our cold brew and water and cream, this brings the fat back to it. Okay, so it can play much differently on your tongue and be more familiar because of that fat value that you've added.
So Katie,
You need a stir stick.
so can you talk to us about that whole mouth feel? Is that because of the fats?
Yeah, but I don't think I can break it down for you further than that.
Well, just say how important it is.
Okay.
I mean, that's all I'm trying to accomplish.
Right, okay. More so than I did?
Well, just so they understand that by adding cream, we're getting a different mouth feel to coffee. And
I
for
thought
some
I
people-
just said that, did I not?
But some people for texture.
Just to like reiterate it? Okay.
You pointed out that there's oil in coffee, but now that we're adding cream, it's going to also.
Did you tune out for 10 seconds? I
Probably.
just said that.
Well, I was probably writing something.
I I did just explain that, right? That like now that we've added fat back to it, it plays differently on your tongue. So it's more familiar. It's more like we expect coffee to be, other than if we don't like cream in it, then it's now creamy. We've got the dairy in there. But that fat being added to it, for me, that's a make or break. Once the cream's in, now I enjoy it. I don't enjoy it without. Now others enjoy it without, but it's more familiar to me. To me, on the cold brew, it's almost like a liqueur, like alcohol on my tongue. It feels very different and unexpected for coffee. And that cream feels more expected. Sorry, I could elaborate. It took me a minute there. You're good. French press now, as we move into that. I didn't bring cream into this one because what I really wanted to do for you guys here, and if you want to add cream to it because you like cream in your coffee, by all means, that's fine. But the idea, you're awesome. The idea here is notice the difference. This is the same bean. So you would expect the same flavor, but our brew method is different. And our extraction, we played with that. So notice the difference. Just simply from the cold brew to this, you're going to notice difference in it. And everybody at home has a different coffee bean. So you're comparing your bean to its own.
So Katie, while our participants are doing this, let's have them in the chat function, go ahead and type in some descriptions that compare the French.
Yeah, so I can encourage them to say, you know, make comments, tell me what you're tasting here. What are your thoughts? That sort of thing. Okay, I can do that. That's easy. And then compare that to the over extracted, your last one. Are you noticing some of those over extracted flavor profiles? Is there a bitterness to it? Is it dry on your tongue or astringent or sharp? Yeah, see, that'll give them a chance to make comments like that. Okay. Maybe you like that. Maybe it's just the right bitter for you and it's not offensive. That's okay. So maybe you're a different, you know, your extraction time on your French press is 3 to 5 minutes. We did 4 minutes. So if you notice bitterness already in the first one, maybe you're a 3-minute brew. Okay. If you're noticing that you like the second one, maybe you're more of a true 5-minute brew. Okay. Or maybe you're going to take yours to 6 minutes. That would be odd. Okay. Because there's 2 bitter, but you can enjoy bitter to a certain extent. Okay. So it tells you how to play with that. Maybe it's too weak for you. Maybe you want this stronger. Maybe you want to look at a 1-to-12 ratio. Okay, so instead of the 450 grams that we did with our 30 grams of coffee, maybe I'm going to go 400 grams of water and get the same flavor profile, but stronger overall. Okay.
That's an excellent segue into customer service. Because
Okay.
what you're pointing out is that it's all about the customer's taste.
Correct.
And what the customer likes is what's most important. So I think it's really important that baristas understand that our goal is to create flavor that the customer likes.
Absolutely. Right. And get that out of them. Try to find out how to accommodate them. Watch their face. See how they react. Figure out if there's a way to add a little bit more of the vanilla syrup they had in their drink to sweeten it up more. Those
What a
sort of
great
things.
idea. That's awesome. Thank you, Katie.
Of course.
All right. See how we just transitioned into customer service?
Perfect.
High five. That
There we
was
go.
perfect.
Nice. That was you. Thoughts, guys? What are we tasting? What do we think? Yeah? Yeah. You know, another thing about French press I didn't mention, French press goes through a metal screen, right? It's not like your drip coffee that you might do at home with the paper filter, where it gets out all those fine particles. Your last cup of this, you can have a little something to chew on in the last sip with French press. But it's really full bodied because of that. And because of the metal screen, it's one of your higher fat extractions. So you get a fullness from the fat and you get a fullness from the undissolved particles that are in there. Any other thoughts?
I typically like sugar in my coffee, but I also like a little bit of sugar. So having the cream in the coffee without the sugar was not my favorite.
You needed some sweetness to it, yeah. Yeah, and it's tough. And us Americans like our sugar in our coffee. I think my crowd won't be worried about sugar in their coffee as much. Hmm? Do you want to taste? I don't want to cut you out. I get the sweetness in that 4-minute extraction. Do you notice the sweetness in it? You can't, yeah. Yeah. I definitely, mine got a nice sweet. I got a good one on mine.